The Islamic World, Conflict and Engagement with the United States of America. That is the name of the course Mohammed Samin Khan from Pakistan is teaching right now up at UND. I had a chance to visit with him earlier today to really find out what he hopes to teach his students at UND about Islam and the Middle East. Mr. Khan, first, thanks so much for joining us and welcome to North Dakota.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
All right, love the title of the class. If I was a student, I'd probably be taking it myself. So first question is, for the students that are going to take your class, the most important thing you'd want them to learn in that class is what specifically?
Is to get away from this current Islamophobia. The Muslim world is almost 25% of the world population, 1.6 billion people in 58 countries. There is a lot of geopolitics involved in the entire process of learning about the Muslim world. So if you were coming to my class, the first thing that you will learn, you would have learned was to not to have this Islamophobia and to see the geopolitics of the Middle East and the world from a very different perspective.
So who do you think is responsible for the Islamophobia?
That's a very interesting question. The Islamic world and the Western world have competed for a very long time. After in the First World War, the Islamic world was with Germany, and from there on, the conflict of the Western world with the Islamic world started. And even before that, if we go into the history, there is no conflict between the Chinese and the Chinese civilization and the United States, or the Chinese civilizations and the Islamic civilizations, but there have been historical conflicts between the Western civilizations and the Islamic civilization. So we know that in the Second World War, when the New World was formed, the Islamic civilization, Islamic countries was in tatters. So we cannot fix the responsibility on one actor. It's a historical process that has got us to this point.
So you said I'm going to walk into your class and discover about the Islamophobia and how not to have it. Essentially is what I took from what you said from your first answer. So I guess, again, my question is even though maybe there's multiple actors, what are you going to tell me that says, hey, Chris, here's how and why you should get rid of any, not that I have it, but if someone does, Islamophobia?
Chris, the Muslim population, it spreads across 3 continents, Africa, Asia, and Europe. And majority of the Muslim women are serving in the German army. So not having it, Islamophobia is a certain agenda which is promoted by a small minority around the world to have support for certain ideas, for certain political, geopolitical advantages. And the same is done in the anti-American sentiments in the Islamic world is rampant.
But Mr. Khan, let me interrupt you, sir, because here's where I think you're going to have some challenges, is that you look at polls across the world, you look at polls across the United States, and people are asked that have the Muslim faith, hey, is there ever a time that a suicide bomber is justified in the name of Islam? And it's like a 25% of the people that say, yes, help us understand in the United States, if you've got a quarter of the population saying it's okay to use a suicide bomb in the name of Islam, for some people not to have Islamophobia.
Well, the suicide bombing, they are not just Islamic. You remember the Japanese kamikazes, you remember the Sri Lankan Tamil Tigers, you remember so many other historical events where people have used suicide bombing as a terrorist tool and as a war strategy. So it's not exclusively Islamic. It is unfortunately right now, because the Islamic world, there's lack of education. There are economic issues. There are issues of social disintegration in Afghanistan and in Syria and other parts of the world, where the jihadi factories are producing terrorists and extremists and brainwashing them to become suicide bombers. That's unfortunately happening in the Muslim parts of the world. But it does not reflect those 1.6 billion people.
Mr. Khan, let me ask you this. I don't know what the exact percentage of American population is Muslim right now. Let's say it's maybe 3%. That might even be a little bit generous. My question is this. When you look at Islam, they think, hey, we need to follow the laws of Allah. The Quran is directly from Allah. It's not necessarily, quote unquote, correct to follow the laws of man. Is it a good thing? Can the United States U.S. Constitution and Islam live in peace under the context of, hey, most Islamists think, hey, we should not live under the laws of man, but under the laws of Allah. Can Muslims live in a secular nation such as the United States of America peacefully?
Chris, it's a matter of semantics. All laws have historical context. If you examine the Roman law was primarily a historical development. What is now we know as the Anglo-Saxon, the Western law. So every legal framework evolved from a certain historical medieval scripture, and unfortunately, because of the backwardness in some of the Islamic countries, the lack of political structure, democracy, and human rights, these ideas, some crude ideas, are continue to be propagated, but that's propaganda, and the reality is that every Muslim country that you see on the map has a constitution which is either similar to the United States or similar to UK, to Britain. For instance, the Pakistani constitution, it is shaped on the English constitution. The first chapter is about the human rights, and the entire human rights issue is in accordance with the Islamic Sharia and the Islamic laws. It's not a theological, political conflict as it is projected in the United States.
So last question for you, sir. We need to be kind of brief here, but tell me one thing that ISIS is currently doing, because from what I can tell and from what I've read and studied, everything ISIS is doing, proclaimed to be doing, is in the Quran, correct?
No, ISIS is only one interpretation of the literalist interpretation of the Quran.
But that's my point. What they're doing is literal interpretation of the Quran, correct? I mean, it's not like they're out going and having and raping little, girls and women and chopping off heads just because they're making things up. They're taking that out of the Quran, correct?
They are interpreting the book in their own, according to their own political agenda. And I'm not an apologist for them. I'm not supporting them. I condemn their actions, their violence, their attitude. I think the version of Islam which they are propagating and promoting is not the right version.
But it is from the Quran, yes?
It's not as simple as it looks. The Quran is a scripture, like all scriptures is. It could be used as an educational tool. It could be used as a weapon. You could use the Bible or the Torah for the motivation and the brainwashing of children and kids.
And I understand that, sir, but I think the distinction today is obviously you don't have Christians and Jews using suicide vests to go blow up innocent people. So I think that, to me, is the big distinction. So, sir, we definitely want to have you back. This conversation, as you and I both know, is not going to end anytime soon. It's been going on for centuries. We got to leave it there. Okay, sir?
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Again, we'll have him on a bunch back in the future. I'd love to know your thoughts. You can share your point of view with us by going to our website, email us, text us. We're going to get your points of view right after this.